It's Friday, Feedback Friday, the feedbackiest day of the week. God, it's Feedback Friday. And I almost started this video with this on my head, not remembering that this is set up for videos now, so you can see more of my potato head. Okay, self-effacing comments on my appearance are just that. They're just jokes. But I appreciate the comment, like the two women talking about Hollywood ugly. Just to clarify, I appreciate the comments people made, but the whole point I was making there is that by Hollywood standards, even conventionally above average attractiveness people are ugly unless you're artificial. That was the point I was making. But that's not the bulk of this. The bulk of this is talking about the stuff we've been talking about, Overwhelm and people pleasing and the inner jerk. I'm recording this on Wednesday because it's when I have the time to do it. And that kind of sucks because there haven't been that much opportunity for people to watch the Asterion video, but the people who did seem to like the approach. So I'm going to try to find other ways to combine video game characters and mental health. I happen to be playing a lot of games that really lend themselves to that. Right now, on Thursday night, I started the God of War Ragnarok Valhalla DLC, and it's so good. It's so good. For me, it's that game series, and then there's everything else. And it just, not only is the story very good, it plays smooth like butter. Just, the controls are beautiful. The combos are good. Parry, everything feels good. But it's also one of the best paced roguelikes with a story I've played. And that is something that is very, very, very hard to do in roguelikes. Sorry, one of my cats is going to barf on my wires. Awesome. I have that to clean up afterwards. But that is just testing it and testing it and testing it and testing it and then giving it to new people and testing it because you're too close to it. Like, just so good. Oh my God, that team. They're just so good. They're just so good. Oh, God of War. I love it. Okay, so Overwhelm. I am overwhelmed by happiness with God of War. This definitely seems like something we're going to have to collectively do a lot of focus on because it really seemed to hit a button. And it was interesting because on the Discord, one of the people finished Asterion storyline and brought up all this stuff after I'd made the video and the points about really not knowing what's good for him and trying to launch himself into things that are ultimately not good for them, that came up. And that is something that when we talk about reasons and maybe I will do the Shadowheart stuff next. I'm in Act 3 of a second playthrough, so I'm not, I'm not knee-jerking anything. But the whole, he has a reason, she had reasons, I had reasons, that is something you have to be very, very careful with. And I'll get into that in that video. I want to keep talking about Overwhelm. Actually Aquila that said, thinking about flashpoints and being in a constant state of overwhelm. For me, seeing the underlying reason for a flashpoint helps give me license to take responsibility for being a shitbird to other people when it's not solely perceived as a character flaw, but instead an interaction of issues. I feel a sense of solving a puzzle or creating solutions instead of accepting blame for being a bad person. And that really is it. And that's why I don't do the spiral. I will not pet someone's head when they go into a spiral of I suck, I feel terrible, self-loathing, all that stuff. I won't. I said to somebody this week, self-loathing's for teenagers. This is an adult space. And that sounds cold, but part of the thing I had to unlearn was the spiral of someone feels bad and somebody else takes responsibility for the fact that they feel bad, even though they're their feelings. And then that, because I feel bad that you feel bad. And then the person who originally felt bad feels like a burden to the other people because they're just, a contagion of feeling bad. And that's not so. That's not healthy. Your feelings are yours. Another person's feelings are theirs. And that, the way Akila put it, that is a healthy relationship to the reasons somebody did something. Because one, she said, taking responsibility for being a shitbird. That's not saying I wasn't a shitbird. Shitbird's a great word, by the way. And that's important. Or I acted like, And just because we have a bad moment doesn't mean we're bad people. And the internet is a place where people are judged sum total for the worst moment of their lives. I mean, I was on Heinz's stream again this week talking, because Jonathan Majors did the interview on Monday. And we were talking about the fact that places like The Guardian are getting quotes from rape and domestic violence experts. It's like, whoa. I was like, hold up. The word rape should not appear anywhere near Jonathan Majors. He was never accused of that. Never accused of that. Never. So why is the word there? Like, let's get that word out of this situation. And we have this thing where, and I get it, right? It's the game I don't play. And if I did play it, I'd make more money in the short term, but be a lot more miserable in the long term. I will not play the victim game. And this is just me. This is nobody else. But the things that have happened to me happened to me. Victim of assault, fine. That's, as one person said this week, that is just a statement of fact. But am I a victim in terms of identity? No. Because that suggests that I need to be handled with kid gloves and everybody tiptoe around me and I can't handle even the slightest little bumps. And that's not so. And it drives me crazy when people treat me like that. And I think some people think that that's caring, and it's not. It's not, because that is brutal on someone's sense of self-worth and self-esteem. People have to feel like they can accomplish things. People have to feel like they can stand on their own and take a few hits. It's a question of it being a few hits, not once they start, you can't get them to stop. And it just feeling bad, right? And I think this is somewhat language coding, but this is also, individuals can have a certain emotional maturity, and then groups and environments can have some sort of baseline emotional maturity. And the whole idea of this is a safe space, we are supportive, meaning nothing. Sometimes the best support for somebody is somebody going, here's why I think you're making a mistake here. I say this with caring. Here's why I don't think that this is the best thing for you. And, then somebody goes, well, you're being abusive. A hurt feeling is not necessarily abuse. Abuse is a violation of a boundary. You say stop, they don't. You make it clear you don't like it, they keep going. That's it. It is not you feeling bad about something because it's true. And our whole dialogue about these things, about how we sort people into victims and predators, instead of it being, that's why I think Asterion is such a fascinating character in Baldur's Gate 3 because he's a shining example of someone who is both. He is incredibly damaged. He got a lot of people killed. Or worse, trying to avoid spoilers. Both are true. And the reasons are not excuses, but the reasons are how you heal and how you change your behavior. Akil is absolutely right. And this is where a lot of comments about man listening and woman listening, I don't see it in those terms, but that was what a commenter said, that in general, guys don't see listening to a problem as being something to do in itself. It's usually a means to an end if you listen to understand a problem well enough to fix it. This means, of course, if you're a guy, you usually don't bring up your problems unless you're basically asking for help in solving them. And again, that is just a statement of male typical socialization. And listening is an art in and of itself. And strangely, I use, the instruction I got in high school mathematics, like in more complicated mathematics, like algebra, finite calculus, stuff like that. Because, my math teacher taught me to not get ahead of this part of the equation. Don't skip steps. Don't do the shorthands because that's where mistakes get made. Do it properly, line by line, show your work. Because one, it's easier to figure out you went wrong if you do go wrong. Two, you understand just that much better. And if your mind is already churning on how to fix something when you haven't finished listening, you're not getting complete information and it's likely not accurate. That's why they teach the exercise of, especially in difficult conversations, but I do it all the time with clients because some people, the people I work with are primarily introverted. So somebody will tell me something and it may take them 5 or 6 tries to get it out. Right. And it may be very indirect. And sometimes people have never spoken to somebody about, their inner world before. And so they don't have the words at first. And so I'll go, okay, what I understand you saying is this accurate? And they'll say yes or no. And I'll stop there until I get it right. And, the next part is if I feel like there's something incomplete, I'll try on certain statements. Like, in one case, somebody feeling overwhelmed. It was like, now, was it coming from the feeling you were being disrespected or the idea basically that a quality job was not going to get done and somebody was going to get hurt? The lack of training was up, or both. And kind of both, but, mostly something's going to go down, right? And that's important. It's really, really important to catch our assumptions, catch our heuristics. Heuristics are part of human decision-making. They are there for a reason, because otherwise just basic day-to-day tasks would be far too complicated. It would overload our brains. But, for instance, when I get distracted because I'm tackling a really difficult problem, I skip steps in basic stuff. Like the thing I did recently was, I've done a lot of stupid things. But this one was, making coffee. It's a single cup coffee maker. Pour water, put in machine, put in coffee, put cup under, turn on. This week, again, I caught myself. Didn't turn the machine on this time, but I caught myself. Pour in water, put in coffee, turn machine on. Not put cup underneath. And it's because I was distracted and I skip a step. If you are already trying to fix the problem while someone is still talking, you have the risk of that. You forget to put the cup under the coffee maker, and the coffee maker brews the coffee beautifully. It just runs all over whatever the coffee maker's on. And so that there isn't a better or worse way in terms of there's fixing a problem's great. And what it says to me is that, understanding a problem well enough to fix it, that's a noble goal. It's just you do that better if you understand completely first, then move on to the fix. A lot of these culture war, social justice-y issues get as hot as they are because we're at a point where some of these talking points have been the way they are for 20 damn years. The needle hasn't moved on the problem. Something's not right. With all this stuff about gender, treating women like victims and men like perpetrators, it doesn't work because we know that abuse is cyclical. People who are abused, it becomes normalized and they abuse without realizing they're being abusive. And so that person isn't a Asterian. He is a victim as well as a perpetrator. Which is why, I love the guy in Game, but I'm like, dude, get the squirt bottle. And he's one of those characters that even when he says he's okay with something, I don't do it with him because, and this is what is really, really, really difficult with people in that wounded but fighting space. You have to give them the respect to make their own choices. But you have to apply dignity of risk principles and make certain calls of, you can do this if you want, but I'm not going there with you. Or, no, we're not going to do this right now. You want this very badly, but I'm not comfortable with it. And it is very, very difficult with someone who is in the middle of their battle with trauma. I actually said to someone this week, I am not willing to take on the role of your ghosts. And it was because I care about the person. And it was because enabling is the worst thing I can do in those circumstances. And it's hard. It's painful. The person feels like they're being abandoned, that I'm not supporting them. But unfortunately, when you've been in a profoundly abusive situation for a really long time, you don't know what support actually looks like. It's muscle memory. It's one of those things you have to actually have it. And that's why, one of the things with the Discord server is we have the fights. And I've talked about this before, but people say, I'd never seen that before. I'd never seen people just scrap with each other and then it's okay. And I said, that's the whole point. I don't want people pent up. I don't want people feeling like they can't say anything because they'll just get run out. And people tell me I take too much and they're right. But in terms of this particular group that I work with, I have to err on the side of give people a few too many chances so that other people can see that they're not going to get thrown out for a single mistake. And yet I still get accused of crucifying people for a single mistake. It's not true. And, everybody's got to measure their energy against the body shots that life throws at you. And I do think that with men, there's a, how do I put this? There's a thing where we don't have supports for men to say, I'm overwhelmed, I'm feeling vulnerable. Vulnerability is terrifying. But it's like, it's a state, right? And there was one comment on the Two Men Talking video about, the comment we talked about that society says men can't be raped, and the bodies autonomic responses. And this commenter, shared when it happened to him. And we need to talk about this stuff more. We do. And that's why I don't like the language men's rights, because I think the real deficit is in men's supports. There's more to life than just basic rights. There's fulfillment and a sense of community. And if people constantly feel like they're not welcome, and they constantly feel like they have to watch every word they say, and their experience is, every disagreement is it for the relationship, God, that's a pressure cooker, and just the fact that we so many people are raised in environments where everything about conflict and everything about boundaries and everything is just backwards, and it's so painful to retrain that to do it the way that feels secure, feels safe, feels like you have a fair amount of control. And that's what we're trying to do. That's what we're trying to do in the Discord. And if you'd like to join the Discord, I forgot to do this before, help support this channel, become a monthly patron, patreon.com/LeannaK, or buy a one-time Leanna Care session for someone who uses it but can't afford it, coffee.com/LeannaK. If you just want to kick us a few bucks, you don't care about joining, the GoFundMe is the place for that. Please come and get some support to help with your overwhelm. It's a great bunch. And we only, if you wonder, well, why do I need money? Well, because we need to know you're a real person. Because, the guard gets lowered some if there isn't, like, if the person you're talking to is not a bot, is not a troll, it's somebody who actually is just there and may have just put their foot in their mouth. We all do it. God knows I know. I did it in the last hour, actually. And no, my brain is going fuzz. So there was more I wanted to say, but I'm not going to. Have a great weekend. We'll be back next week. And thanks for watching, and have a great weekend.